remember at the conclusion of the last Mercury game, well, towards the end of the last Mercury game, I can't say it was the conclusion because it wasn't at the very end, but in the fourth quarter, with about 5 minutes left,
one call, that's all it takes now. One whistle in a CaitlinClark game, and within an hour, it's the loudest argument in sports. No player in this league turns a routine foul into a national debate the way she does. So, why does every official who blows a whistle near her end up in the crosshairs? Let's actually break it down.
When the jump, Thomas coming to take a look at.
Oh,
yeah, that's
saw the elbow extend from behind, and
that's not going to get overturned, I don't think.
To understand the heat, you have to understand the spotlight. Clark didn't just join the WNBA, she changed the size of its audience. Games she plays in draw a different level of viewership, and arenas that used to have empty rows are selling out. Here's the trade-off nobody warns you about. When millions of new eyes show up, every single call gets frozen, zoomed, and replayed. Officiating that used to pass unnoticed is suddenly under a microscope. More attention doesn't just mean more fans, it means more outrage over things that used to go by in a possession.
And hip of Thomas. The result of the play will be 2 free throws because of the defensive foul, and we're in the penalty. This is a successful challenge. The timeout will be charged to Indiana because they're due. Phoenix will retain their timeout.
Now, here's where it splits the room. One camp watches a play like that and sees a star who gets hammered and doesn't get the calls a player of her status should get. The other camp watches the exact same footage and sees normal WNBA physicality, and, at times, a guard selling contact to draw a whistle. Both sides are looking at identical frames and reaching opposite conclusions. That's not random. That's what happens when one player becomes a stand-in for every argument people already wanted to have.
Like we thought. Listen, I would say this, okay? When you see the elbow, you go, oh.
We both said, oh, going to break.
She could have caught, if she caught her, that would have been,
could have been better.
But watch what happens next, because this is the part that should bother you no matter which side you're on. A disputed call stops being about the call. The conversation jumps straight to the person in the striped shirt. People dig up names, dig up histories, and turn a judgment call into a referendum on someone's character. Let me be clear about this, there is no evidence that officials are conspiring against CaitlinClark, no proof of orders coming from the top, no smoking gun showing a referee with a personal vendetta. What there is a hard job with a bad night that millions of people suddenly decided to litigate in public. Disagreeing with a call is fair game. Hunting down an individual official and branding them the villain of the week is how the conversation goes off the rails.
Mr. Thomas went on to miss a free throw, and CaitlinClark started clapping immediately after this play. Now, that is not just the only saga that has taken place in this basketball game. We have many people in the media calling CaitlinClark a flopper.
So, let's zoom all the way out and ask what's really going on here. The WNBA is living through the fastest growth in its history, and Clark is at the center of it. That growth is thrilling, but it comes with a tax. Every flashpoint gets amplified, every grievance finds an audience, and every close call becomes content. The officiating debate around her isn't really one debate, it's a dozen arguments wearing the same jersey. There's an actual basketball conversation buried in here, and it deserves better than the noise. Is she absorbing more contact than the whistle reflects? People who watch a lot of basketball think so. Does she, like plenty of guards before her, sometimes exaggerate contact to bait a call? People think that, too. Both can be true in different moments of the same game. The honest answer is that officiating at this level is hard. It's inconsistent across the entire league, and not just in her games. And stars in every sport have always lived in the gray area between getting the benefit of the doubt and getting tested by opponents. What's new isn't the inconsistency, it's the audience. Bring tens of millions of casual viewers into a sport, and a missed call doesn't fade by the next trip down the floor. It gets clipped, captioned, and aimed at a specific human being. That's the line I think we have to be careful about. You can be furious about a call. You can believe the league needs better, more consistent, more transparent officiating, and you'd have a real point. But the second the conversation turns into branding one referee corrupt, you've stopped talking about basketball, and as I said, there's nothing behind that corruption talk. A league doesn't get cleaner by letting its officials get mobbed every time a whistle goes the wrong way. Here's what real accountability looks like, and it's nowhere near as satisfying as a villain. It looks like the league reviewing calls, publishing officiating reports the way other major leagues do, grading and training referees, and admitting plainly when they get one wrong. It's boring. It's institutional, and it's the only thing that actually improves the product on the floor. Outrage feels like action, but it changes nothing except who's getting harassed this week, and notice how Clark herself tends to handle it. She competes, she reacts in the heat of the moment like every great competitor does, and then she mostly lets the basketball do the talking. The people losing their minds over the officiating are almost never the player on the court. That should tell you something about where the heat is really coming from. So, here's the question I'll leave you with, and I want a real answer, not a fight. Do you actually want better officiating in this league? Consistent, reviewable, and accountable for everyone? Or do you just want someone to blame when your team loses a call, because those are two different things, and only one of them makes the sport better? Tell me which one you're really after.